Hi, this is Marisa from Pennington Quilt Works. I'm going to be showing you how to make this really cute little cross-stitch ornament that finishes in the hoop. In your Pennington Quilt Works Make and Take cross-stitch embroidery kit, you will find the following. A grouping of threads. This is a Cosmo Floss, which is a 6-stranded floss. A ribbon used to hang your embroidery projects once complete. A 4-inch embroidery hoop, a 7-inch square of 14 count Aida cloth. In the cloth you will find a size 26 tapestry needle. And then also in your kit is a stitch guide, and you can choose to do one of 2 designs, the more simple holiday gift or slightly more complex holiday home scene with tree. In addition to your kit, you may also want to assemble the following items. A pair of scissors to snip your threads, a needle threader. This one's really cute. When you push it open, there's a light here. A needle minder. This is a magnet that you can place on your hooped Aida cloth and then leave your needle on there when you need to walk away. And then these, I refer to them as thread pullers. You place it over your finger, and it makes it a little easier for you to pull the thread, the needle and thread, through the Aida cloth. All of these items are available on our website. Before we start stitching our design and before we even hoop the Aida cloth, it's good to finish the raw edge, and you can do that using a serger, a zigzag stitch, or if you don't have access to a sewing machine or a serger, you can use a painter's tape or a masking tape. But because I can, I'm going to use this new very lovely Bernina L890, and just to finish my raw edges so that while I'm working this, it's not unraveling. And now what I'll do is go put a little bit of fray check right here and then cut this off so it's not in my way, but I'm not worried about it because once the project is finished, all of that will get cut away. Now that we've serged or finished our edges, we want to find the center point of our square so that we can hoop it and know where we're going to start the design. So I'm just going to fold this in quarters and mark the center. So you can, at this point, use a water erasable marker, or what I like to do is take 1 strand of floss. So just bring it right in here, this. So that's 1 stitch, and then tie a knot. And this marks the center. As once I get to that place, then I can just cut that off. All right, so that's the center of my hoop. And now I'm going to hoop my project. Your hoop has 2 parts, one part with the screw and one part that's a full circle. This part goes on top. I'm just going to kind of roughly center it here. Like that. And I like to push this up so that I can see just a little bit of the cloth. And then tighten. And then you can retighten this as you go. As you work a project, typically it becomes looser over time. Okay. And now we're ready to start stitching. So in your kit, there are 7 different colors of floss, and we've given you quite a bit of the pink, red, green, and the dark blue. So I'm going to use the pink to stitch the larger parts of my gift. And I like to work with about 18 inches of thread at a time. I find that if you have too many threads, it's too long, it can get tangled up. This is about 18 inches. And you'll notice with floss that you have 6 strands, but what we want to do is work with 2 strands. So what we're going to do is separate out. So I'm going to pull up 1 strand. I'm going to hold that strand between the thumb and my forefinger, and with my left hand I'm going to hold everything else and I'm going to pull. There is strand 1. Okay. And now I need a second strand, still holding the other 5 strands with my left hand. With my right hand I'm going to pull up a thread, hold tightly to those others, so that's called stripping your threads. So we're going to strip and straighten it. Now we're going to take these 2 strands, put them together. So now I have 2 strands of floss, which is what I want to use to stitch this design. I'm going to take my needle and thread it. And now I'm ready to start stitching. So to begin stitching, I've marked the center point on my canvas, but I also want to find the center point on our design. And I know that the center point is about here, which is on the ribbon. So I'm going to start over here to the right and stitch across. And I have 3 rows of pink, and then I'm going to skip 2 rows red, and then the rest here. So cross stitch is literally what it sounds like. It's a series of crosses, but to do them, I like to do the method where we work half the cross one way and then we work back the other way. The other thing I want to make sure is how many crosses I'm going to be going across my first row. So I know there's 10 here and an extra 2, so I'm going to be doing 12 pink across. So the green is my center point, so I don't want to go there. So I'm just going to go to the right of it. And each stitch with cross stitch is this square. So I'm going to pull this up and go to the back. I don't like to put knots in my cross stitch. I'm just going to hold the tail to the back. And now go to the front. And then bring this thread up to the back again, making sure that I'm catching that tail. Let's see, I've got that tail in the back. And then continue along, again catching that tail behind, and that will secure the thread. And you don't have to have knots, which make it difficult to stitch through. And I'm going to continue working with what is called a half cross, all 12 of those stitches. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to work back the other way. I like to work in rows where I'm marking out my design so that I have checkpoints for myself. Okay. When we come back, we'll work back at the other direction. So I have my 12 half crosses complete, and now I need to complete the cross and work back the other direction. So each stitch there are 4 holes around each stitch. So, let me find this one. Okay, so here's this one. I'm going to come up, and then I go back down. And now this is what's completing the cross. And then I continue working across the canvas until I get back to that start point. And then I'll go down and start the next row. And this really is how cross stitch proceeds. It's a series of working across with half cross stitch, and then working back the other way to complete the cross. And again, placing the center stitch, making a stitch or marking it, just gives you a landmark around which to plan the rest of your design. Of the two designs that we've chosen for this project, I would say that this is probably the simplest, but if the tree and house is the one that really gets you excited, again, making sure you mark your center and counting on the chart and then across on your canvas, you should be able to do it without any problem. I'm almost to the end of this one here. Okay, and this will complete the final cross on that first row. And now I'm going to come down and do the second row. And all I do is I travel down, I come up, and I'll continue working across all 12 stitches, doing my half cross, and then work back the other way, completing the cross. And this way, in doing in this method, all of your crosses go in the same direction. So it's nice and neat. Okay. Come to the end of this section, and I want to show you how I end the thread. So I'm going to do my last cross here, and then I come to the back, and I'm just going to take it underneath some of these stitches here, just like that. Pull, secure it, and cut. So that's not enough thread that I would save that, so I'll put that aside. So looking again at my chart, the next thing I have to do here is some red. So I'm going to prepare my red. And I have about 18-inch piece of red. And this is 6 strands of floss. So I'm going to pull up one strand, my right hand, hold the rest with my left, and pull. Put that one down. So this is called a strip and swipe. So I'm stripping this down. I'll put those aside. Now I'm going to pick up this other piece here. Right. I have a little knot at the end. Again, I don't like to have knots because they're harder to stitch there. Okay. Now, I'm going to use the needle threader for this one. This is this very cute little bug needle threader. It has a light, so it's particularly helpful if you have trouble seeing what you're doing, or if you're like me and you stitch with your family, they're watching movies. Okay, so I put my needle over it through the guide wires. I'm going to slide my 2 strands of floss through here and then just gently pull, which makes it really easy. Okay, so now we're going to stitch this next section. So if I look here, I know that I'm going to do 2 rows of red. And in order to do that, as I did previously, I threaded 2 strands of floss, and I'm going to come down to the next stitch. So here's my last stitch that I finished, and the next stitch down is here. Come up, and I'm going to turn it to the back, holding with my middle finger. I'll go back down and to do my half cross, a little tug. I'm going to go into the next hole here, and what I want to do is make sure that I'm going to catch that tail. There we go. See that? Perfect. And I'll do that again. going to turn to the back. Again, making sure that I'm going to the next stitch. Yes. I caught that tail. And now I will continue, just as we did for the pink, working across. I'll work my half cross, across 12, back the other direction to complete the cross stitch, come down, work across, and then back. And then continue working this entire manner until I have completed the chart. So this is my completed gift from the practice that we did. And you can see that I didn't zigzag these edges and it's fraying. So that's why I want to make sure that you don't make this mistake. It's not that big of a deal because this is such a small piece, but if you're working tiny and you're working on a project for a long time, this will eventually just become more and more unfrayed and cause you trouble. So I'm going to re-hoop this, making sure that it's about where I want it to be in the center. That actually looks pretty good to me. Give it a tug. Now that we have a completed cross stitch design inside our hoop, we want to finish it by trimming off the outsides here, this Aida cloth, and gluing it to the back. So I'm going to be doing that just using an Elmer's glue stick. These are great and it's easy to work with, and just a pair of scissors. So I'm going to trim off about an inch around here. This is going to be on the back, so it doesn't really have to be super perfect. Okay, get rid of all that. And then I have this Elmer's glue stick, and it's nice because you'll see it's purple, so I can see exactly where I've been putting the glue. And I'm sure you have these lying around your house. I'm going to put some up here on the Aida cloth itself. And then also on the hoop. So you want to be pretty generous with this because we want to make sure this really sticks. All right, I feel fairly confident that I have enough here. And I'm going to use the edge of the glue stick to get it inside. And it is disappearing, so I'm not going to worry about that little bit of purple there. And always recap your glue. Now I'm going to press down, and I actually like to press in quarters. And then I'll just ease in. So easy. This is a great way to finish any hooped project, embroidery or just hooping some fabric. Fabulous. Look at that, how cute that is. Now we're going to take our little ribbon that's included in your kit. I tie a simple knot at the top. Slide it right through here, this opening below the screw, through the loop. There you go. Perfect. A perfect little gift.